Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
Peace and blessings, love and light. This is Kim Martin Raymond, host of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And again, I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I am a minister, spiritual life coach, author, and founder of Redefining You, LLC, where I help my clients to align themselves mind, body, and spirit. And welcome to season 2 of the How Now podcast. We're excited about that. We started our new season December 2nd. We're happy to be back. And there are going to be a few new things that we're going to be doing with regards to the How Now podcast. So I ask that you go to www.hownowpodcast.com and that you click on our link for the show of the week. Make sure that you go in to our YouTube channel and subscribe, like, and share, so that way people know what's happening in the now for season 2. And one thing that we're going to be doing in this season is we're going to be highlighting authors, new authors. We're going to be highlighting established authors who are going to come and talk about things that are relevant in our now. And today is going to be the kickoff of that. And our guest is no exception to this new stream that we're going to be doing with our author highlight. And at this time, as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have her to introduce herself at this time.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Martina Domino, and I'm an author of a book called What in the World is the Coronavirus?
That's it. That's it. Okay, well, it is fantastic to have you here. We're glad that you're coming to share this important information. And just like you said, we're still in the midst of this virus. We are still in a place where we've got new strands that are coming out. The holidays are right upon us. We're in the midst of the holidays. We have a lot of children that are off for the holidays that are going to be spending time with family. And we need for our children to be informed about the coronavirus and what it is and what they need to do. So we want to definitely make sure that we're creating safe spaces for our children. So let's talk a little bit about this book. What in the world is the coronavirus, and what prompted you to write it?
Well, what prompted me to write the book was my 6-year-old son. As soon as I had been watching the news since December of 2019, and I was seeing some things that were going on that really wasn't being talked about here just yet. And I had a little talk with my kids about what to do when they go back to school in January, about hand sanitizing and washing your hands and all of those things. And so then come to March, they're out of school. Everybody's home, it's virtual. And I'm like, oh my goodness, my 6-year-old, he is wanting to know, why can't we go to school?
Right.
Why can't we go visit grandparents? Because he loves visiting his grandparents. Why can't we go to the store? He just had a lot of questions.
Right.
And I'm sitting as a former teacher, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I wonder how many other children in this world are having the same types of questions.
Wow.
And sometimes as adults, we don't really know how to go about explaining things to kids. And so the idea just came to me. And I was like, I am going to write and publish a book called What in the World is the Coronavirus, and make it in a simplified way where kids can understand what to do to protect themselves, what the coronavirus is, and just to make it a little kind of kid friendly. So they wouldn't be scared of it, but they'll still just have insight about what's going on and what to do.
Yes, and I think that's awesome. I was going to say, as a former educator, it's great that you've created that, created the book, or had the wherewithal to do that, because it does need to be explained in a kid-friendly way. And, I think that a lot of parents, when things were shut down for the coronavirus, and then they had to take on the responsibility or the dual role of now being a parent and an educator for their children, and not everybody can operate in that capacity. and they may not, like you said, have the words or know how to articulate to the children what it is that's going on. So it's wonderful that you've created this book, because it does that. It brings it to the children in a kid-friendly way from an educator's perspective. So, they're able to get everything that they need right there in your publication. And then, just like you were talking about, this is something that has affected children worldwide. It's not just something that is just constricted or just confined to one area. It affected everybody over the world. So I love the title, What in the World is a Coronavirus? Because we're talking about the entire world that's been affected by this, right?
Right. All of the kids, I stress kind of like in my excerpts that all kids all around the world, all different types of kids have been affected by the coronavirus. And so in writing the book, and I'll kind of explain some of it later, like the W. It's called the W World Kids. They are the characters in the book. And I chose those characters to be from different countries and named them accordingly to their country. I have characters from, of course, the US, Canada, Mexico, China, England, Spain, Italy. And I know they probably can't see this, but each of these characters have a T-shirt on, and their T-shirt is actually the flag that they're, to represent their country. And so I thought that was important too. And the W I have just stands for what, where, when, why, all of those questions that kids ask. And so in doing this, I said, this is just the start. I have an upcoming book, a cover release coming soon, so I don't want to give it away yet. But, I did it so I can set it up to talk about different topics that kids have issues with.
Yes.
And there are also going to be some topics about after coronavirus. What is all of these other things going on? And I'm trying not to, I don't really want to give it away, but I'm going to use it to answer more questions that kids may still have about the coronavirus and things like that. So yes, that's my W World Kids, and I just wanted to show diversity and let children know that all kids all over the world are having to cope with the same things that they're having to cope with in school, wearing a mask, all of getting an extra vaccine, that they weren't used to getting all of this stuff. So
yes, and I mean, I think that is wonderful. Like I said, I like the W. I like the what, where, when, why, and how, because those are the questions that the children are asking, and they are asking them all over the world. And it's great that you do bring that into perspective for children, because they sometimes operate in their little bubble, in their community, in their immediate environment. And it's interesting when they can see that other children around the world are asking the same questions, and it's just like, wow,
what in the world?
yes, what is this? And it's affecting everybody. It's not just affecting me, and they can't go and see their grandparents either, or they can't go and do the things that they're doing. So I mean, it's wonderful that you shed light on that, because it's important. And it's also important for our children to understand empathy, and to realize that, it's not just you, it's everyone else. And they have feelings about it too. And how are they responding to those feelings? So I think that it's a wonderful, project that you're doing. And I'm looking forward. I will definitely have you come back and talk about your other publications as they come out, because it is important that's dealing in the now. It's talking about what our children are dealing with in the now. And there are a whole lot of emotions that are attached to this coronavirus for them as well. So tell me a little bit about what you talk about in the book.
So in the book, I just start off just introducing the main characters of the book. But one of the things that I talk about, of course, is, okay, it's showing a character. It's why we can't go to birthday parties. He's having all of these thoughts about the things that he's not doing that he's used to doing. And so it just kind of breaks down what coronavirus is. And the biggest thing, being an educator and teaching ELA, you always want the kids to get the main idea. And really for this, it was what the coronavirus is, and it is a germ. And so, I talk about it being a germ and being talking about a virus, and you can't see germs, and you can't see the virus and things like that. And so then I go on to talk about how it is transmitted. And of course, I don't use the word transmitted,
Right.
but I go on to show kids how people catch the virus. And in the book, it shows a picture of two little boys, and one is coughing, and he's spreading coronavirus germs everywhere, and the other one is sneezing, and he's doing all kind of things, spreading
Oh, wow.
germs
Wow.
everywhere.
Yes.
And you know, for a kid, because we can say, hey, you can spread this virus by coughing and sneezing, but a lot of kids need visuals
Right.
to see, okay, well, what do you mean? We can spread it by coughing or sneezing. And so it was very important to me to choose the correct illustrator that could illustrate what I wanted the kids to see.
Yeah.
I also talk about where coronavirus germs are. I let kids know it could be on a doorknob or a toy or a counter, just things that they touch. Also, I talk about hand washing. And also, when I do my author visits, one question I always ask the students is, how long should you be, washing your hands? How many seconds? And it's funny to hear some of the answers, but it just talks about how you should at least wash your hands for 20 seconds
Right.
in the book. And I go on to talk about some other things about which type of people could actually become ill from getting the coronavirus, and that's important too because you don't want kids to be scared to think, oh my goodness, if I get the coronavirus, I'm going to die. But at the same time, I thought it was important to show, how dad could get sick, grandma and grandpa can be sick, and that's why we can't go visit grandma and grandpa because their bodies may not be as strong as ours.
Right.
So I didn't want to share too much gloom, but
Right. Right.
definitely, I talked about other people that may not be so lucky.
Right.
Because the thing is, some people say, oh, it's not a big deal. People get sick. I had it, nothing happened to me. Well,
Right.
good for you. But what about the people, what about the over 800,000 people
Right.
now
Right.
that have died from
Right. Right.
it,
Right.
So,
But I love that you address that because
yeah,
that's something, we want to make sure that we're transparent with the children as well. But at the same time, we don't want to scare them, and I know that as a former educator myself, you don't want to scare the children because our role is to create safe spaces for our children. And we want them to be able to come and talk to us. And we don't want to, negate how they feel about it. You never want to, discount how these children are feeling. And some children, as well as adults, are scared. And we want to make sure that we're giving them the information. And that's why I love that you address it in the book, because it's not that it doesn't happen, but we want to let them know that it can happen. But it's because some people's systems may not be able to fight it like others. And so, and then it doesn't have to be morbid. Like you said, it doesn't have to go into death. I mean, depth about it and scare the children, but at least let them know that this is something that can happen, and it starts the discussion. And I
right.
think that that's beautiful. It gives the teachers and those who are reading your books to the children an opportunity to expound on things a little bit more. I mean, because I'm sure that there are parents or other people out there who may have your book and are reading the book and can say, well, this is what happened to auntie or uncle. And we're sorry that they're no longer here, but we know that we have to do things to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe. So I love that you've created this platform, for the discussions to start. I think that
Thank you.
that's awesome. I think that that's amazing. How has your son received the book? Did you let him read it? Did you read it to him first before you published it?
Oh my goodness. So I have three sons actually. They're
Okay.
16, 13, and 6.
Okay.
My 6-year-old was the most involved in me, writing the book and things like that. Because when I was writing, I would ask him questions and, see, just ask him questions to kind of gauge what he thinks about it. And
Right.
so he loves the book. So he reads the book
I
He's
love it.
on, I did a video on Instagram with him telling people this is my mommy's book around
Uh-huh.
the world. He loves the book. But all three of my boys, they're my biggest supporters. They love the book. I actually have their names in the book, so they are actually some of the
Absolutely.
little characters. Um,
Nice.
yeah, in the book, and my 6-year-old, he's a really big advocate. Wherever I go, if he's with me, he answers the questions that the people are asking me before I
Right.
even get a chance to answer.
Yes, yes. He's your marketing person. He's
Oh
your
my
he's your
goodness.
yeah, right,
Yes,
right. He's
yes.
he's PR, he's everything.
Everything,
That's
everything.
awesome. That is awesome. I mean, you want their support, you want their input. So it's great that they're able to do that, that they were able to be a part of the project and to also shed some light and make sure that the things that needed to be covered in the book were covered. So I think that is awesome. That is amazing. Okay, so now you said, now you talk about the children doing hand washing, and you talk about masks as well.
Right. And so also in the book, what I have is like it's just a couple of things. Now, granted, when I wrote the book, we didn't know what was going to happen. We knew that they was going to go to school, but we didn't know when.
Right.
And so I talk about social distancing
Yes.
and it's some characters in a classroom and it has like 6 feet, just to make sure you do 6 feet,
Right.
but also wear a mask. Because in the book, I tell them, hey, you wear a mask because those coronavirus germs can flow right in your nose or mouth.
Right.
And so then in the book, I have, pictures of the kids in the classroom and they just have their mask on,
Nice.
and
Nice.
even their little face shields, while they're
Right.
reading.
Right. I
But
love it. I
But
love
yeah, so I
it.
kind of wanted to touch on what I thought was the main things, and that was washing the hands, covering your coughs and sneezes, wearing a mask, social distancing. But
Yeah.
also, before the vaccine came out, I talked a little bit about the vaccine, and it was just telling kids that, hey, look, scientists all over the world are working on, a vaccine for this. And so when I go out now, I just side note tell the kids that now we have a vaccine that you can take. If you, that you should take,
Right.
if your parents,
Right.
let you. And so that is mostly, the book, and to share with them the things that they can do
Right.
themselves,
Right.
washing their hands, covering, to keep everybody safe and to keep
Right.
themselves safe as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So your book is in publication. It's available on different platforms. It's available on Amazon
Yes.
and other outlets where people can get it. So now you said that you have been going and speaking at different schools. How's the reception been, with you going out and talking about the corona?
Really overwhelmingly awesome. I love going out to the different schools, and it makes me so happy when I go, and it's so many students that know how to wash their hands correctly. When I go out to the schools and you see almost all of the kids wearing their mask correctly, because that's what I talk about too, wearing your mask correctly, because I was telling them, if you leave your nose out, it's not going to work. They'll go right
Right,
in your nose. And they're like,
right.
and every time I say it, you can see like 3 students doing this.
That's
And
right. That's right.
it's so cute. But I go out, I talk to them. I can't do as many interactive things as I would like to do, but
Right,
we just, we pretend to put the soap in our hand, and we
right,
pretend to wash our hands. And
right.
I make sure I tell them, make sure you get your fingertips and in between your fingers and on your hand on the top. So it's been really great. I've done like some literacy nights where I come out, meet the parents. They have the opportunity to purchase the book if they like.
Yeah,
I sign the book for the kids, take a picture. Like it's just really been great,
that is wonderful.
especially here. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Uh-huh.
I've ventured out a little bit, but I would like to venture out as far as I can possibly go,
Absolutely.
to reach kids and talk about the book, and just tell them those little things and just teach them those little things that
That's
they
it.
can do.
That's it, because like you said, it's the little things that are important. And like you said, it's not to overload them, but just to start the conversation, just to make sure that they are familiar with what is happening around them, and this is, your book coming out is so timely because as we're going into year 2 of this coronavirus, and when you think about it, it's just like, oh my God, we're going into another year of this. We're going into the holidays, like I said earlier. We're having to people are getting together with families. People are getting tired of being in this state of coronavirus. And you'll see some, I'm sure, that in certain areas you get pushback, because there are some people who are not wearing masks. There are some people who are not social distancing. And I know that that's difficult for you as well. How have you had any areas where there's been a little bit of pushback?
Well, here in how can I say, certain parts of Louisiana, kids are still required to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
In my son's district, they're not.
Oh, wow.
And so it has been difficult for me once they dropped the mask mandate to have my son go to school. And I'm like, wear your mask, wear your mask.
Wow.
I may go on a field trip or Christmas party and no one in the class has on the mask. And I walk in and my son doesn't have on one either. And I'm like, hey, where's your mask? And he's like, oh, it's in my book set. And so I've been having, I didn't reach out because I don't want him to, be an outcast or anything like that. But at the same time, I talk to him like, hey, I don't care what anyone else in your class is doing.
Right.
Mom wants you to wear the mask.
Right.
Okay. I said, your older brother has asthma. We don't want to risk him getting, the virus. I said, it's so important. But as far as anything else, of course, I get weird messages on social media.
Yes.
But I just ignore them because it's not worth my energy. But everywhere here, you don't have to wear the mask.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I know, just like you said, it's a challenge. I travel and, certain areas I go into, just like you said, there's nobody wearing a mask. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So, I think it's good to have the information out there for the children so that way, they can say, well, I know that other children around the world are wearing their masks. They're doing what's necessary. I'm going to continue to do that, because it's difficult. But I love that you do this book because what it does do is it gives our children a voice, because you can say, well, I know that you may not wear a mask, but I read Miss Domino's book and it talks about wearing a mask and it talks about social distancing. So, I'm going to do it, because I don't want to get sick and I want to protect my family. So you're giving the children a vocabulary. You're giving them the words that they need to articulate, when they see others who aren't doing it and they choose to do it. So I love that you're doing that you're creating that space for our children to have a voice.
And look, also, what I did was after I did the book and I was thinking, and I have like my W World kids, at the end of the month and everything. Look, I came and I created this little mask that
I love it.
They match the kids. And so let me tell you, these kids love these masks. I think it's just maybe the colors.
Yes.
And they actually have the kids on it.
Yes.
And so I make them available with the book. Like when they get the book, they get the mask, with the book. And so I just wanted to point it out because it's exciting because most of the time when I'm at an event, like that's what they want. It's like, they want the mask. And that makes me happy because I know if they're excited about it because they like the way that it looks, then they'll want to put it on.
Be inclined to keep it on. And I love that. I mean, if this virus continues the way it is, masks are going to be a fashion statement. You've already got sparkly ones, colored ones, this kind, that kind. And so, whatever it takes to entice the children to want to wear those masks, that's important, and then, I'm happy that they are making vaccinations available. And I know that that's a controversial issue because it has split families, it has caused division, and it's something that's touchy. And I think about it, it's almost like, they tell you not to talk about politics and religion. It's going to be taboo to talk about vaccinations and wearing masks because there are so many people who are divided over this issue. And so, we have to be real careful about, saying that we're proponents of certain things, because it is an individual choice. And I believe that, I've made the choice to be vaccinated and have had my booster, and I choose to wear my mask, especially, as the person who goes out and speaks and trains. I like to make sure that I've got a mask on so that I'm protecting myself. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and I want to make sure that I'm not bringing anything into her space or causing her to be at risk. Just like you said, you have your son who, has asthma, and you don't want to put him at risk either. So it's just a matter of making sure that we let people know that they have a choice, and we want them to be able to make an informed choice. And I think that your book, what it does is it opens the door for that conversation to allow parents and educators and the children themselves to be able to make choices that are going to be safe for them. So I thank you for that. That's something that's important. It's critical, so the issue of this virus and where it's going is just going to be something ongoing, and do you talk about in your book any, about the emotions, how the children may be feeling, as this virus is going on, like if they're scared or if they're frustrated?
I didn't use adjectives to describe the kids, but in the beginning of the book, when I had the character, I had him folding his hands, and he's just kind of, saying. So I use illustrations to show, how kids may be feeling. I'm just going to show it to you because I think it's so
yes.
So, that's him. He's looking like, I'm not at the movies. I'm not at the birthday party.
He's like, I'm over it.
Right. Because, when we teach, we also, tell children to look at the picture, and we always ask, how do you think that character is feeling?
Yes.
Okay. And so I chose to use, the illustration so kids can look into their picture and see and come up, and maybe guess how that character is feeling.
Right. And I think that's a wonderful way to do it. Just like you said, illustrations, everything that's a conversation starter, things that are going to, tap into the children's feelings. Like I said, empathy is huge. We have to be able to say, there are some children who are going to be scared. There are some children who are going to be frustrated. Some children are going to take their cues from their parents and from those who are in their immediate environment at home, but we want to at least let them know that there are other things that are going on around them. And that's important from there. And to be able to start that conversation about how they're feeling, because this is just not something that's always easy to explain. Even when you explain it, they're still like, but I still miss grandma and grandpa. I still miss my friends, and how do we deal with that? So I love that you're going to continue the series, because I'm sure that you'll touch on some of those things as well, because they're all connected. Everything is connected to this virus, and it's important that we all be informed, especially our children, and especially all over the world, because it's not just here in the United States, it's everywhere, and they need to know that they are not alone. So like I said, I love that you have brought this publication to light. It couldn't be more timely, and I hope that people will definitely purchase the book and start those conversations, bring them into the classrooms, take them to your children's teachers, and allow them to read it to the children, or come into your child's classroom and read it to your children's classroom. So that way, we're spreading the word, and we're raising awareness about this virus and what it can do, and what we can do to make sure that our children are safe. So like I said, just to recap, you talked about making sure that they wear those masks, making sure that they social distance, make sure that they're washing their hands. And these are things that we hear, in from the CDC and recommendations that they've made, but it's always good to be able to reiterate them, to talk about them again, and to bring them in layman's terms for our children to understand. And that they know that W, that why, where, when, and how, the when, what, where, and why.
Right.
It's important that they know those things, that we're able to answer those questions for them. And like I said, you've done a beautiful job. The illustrations are beautiful in the book. They are, it is a lovely book. I love the characters. I love that they have the little flags on their shirts that represent their countries. It's a beautiful, beautiful publication. So I hope that you all will, go online, go on to Amazon, and, make sure that you purchase your copy of the book. So before I ask you about your contact information, because we definitely want people to be able to contact you and to possibly have you come out if that's something that you're capable of doing, I always ask all of my guests, what is something that you are doing in the now just to navigate in this space? Because everybody does something different, in dealing with this and coping with what's happening right now. So what do you do?
And, right now, what I do, I pray, I meditate.
Yes.
I show gratitude, just keeping positive and being positive for me is what I do in the now. And I share that with my family, my boys, my husband. We try to be as positive as possible. We pray, and that's my coping mechanism. Just being grateful, praying, and that's it. Taking care of my family, making sure we're safe. That's what I can do, and that's what I'm doing in the now.
That is beautiful, and it's wonderful. That positivity, and definitely taking time to show gratitude, because we're still here, and we're still operating in this space, and we're still trying to figure it all out. But we don't have to live with a cloud over us. We can, like you said, pray and show empathy for others, and to make sure that we're doing things that are safe for our families. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing that you're doing. Okay, so now tell people how they can get in contact with you, and then also how they can go about purchasing your book.
Well, you can contact me by going to my website. It's martinadomino.com. I'm also on all social medias, Instagram at author Martina Domino, Twitter at author Domino, and Facebook, Martina Domino Children's Author.
Okay, and we'll make sure that those things are in the description for the show when we air it, so that way you all will be able to get in contact with it. And the link for the book will be on each one of those streams of social media.
You can find a link to go to the book from my website, from Instagram, any of those. The book is also available on Amazon, Target, Walmart, just a few other places that I can't remember them all, but you can pretty much type "what in the world is the coronavirus book" in your Google search, and something will come up.
Awesome. I love it. So like I said, thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your publication with us. Like I said, we will be featuring an author each month, and I am so happy to kick it off with you talking about what in the world is the coronavirus and our W World Kids. And just make sure that you go and grab a copy and that you share it. Grab a copy for yourself and for someone else, and share it and give them an opportunity to take it into our schools, and let the teachers share it virtually if they're still doing a hybrid type of teaching, because this is important. Make it a stocking stuffer for the holidays. Definitely make sure that you grab your copy for that, and that we're giving the children an opportunity to have this conversation, especially going into the holiday season, because we want our children to be safe. That's what it's about, creating safe spaces and starting conversations for our children, so that way they are always in a space of being safe and showing empathy towards others, not just in their communities, but around the world. So again, Martina, thank you so much for being here. Do you have any parting words for our families or for our listeners before we go?
There's one thing I always say, mask up and stay safe.
Mask up and stay safe. It say stay safe. It doesn't get any better than that. Okay. So we look forward to you all going out and grabbing your copy. Make sure that you go and you connect with Martina. And with that, we thank you for another episode of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until we see you the next time, I say peace.